Last week, RBL Reliance Brands Limited announced a 40% minority stake in brand Manish Malhotra. This is the first time that Manish Malhotra's company Styles Private Limited has an external investment. The very nature of the business of fashion is changing in India. Collaborations like these seek to scale up, speed up, bring structure and order to couture and fashion businesses, even as consumer interest and engagement in Indian couture is changing from all over the world. In this conversation, Darshan Mehta, the MD and CEO of Reliance Brands Limited, and the well-known couturier and designer Manish Malhotra talked to me about why this partnership matters and how they intend to make it work. I would like to start with a question to Darshan. The Indian market is spoiled for choice, if we were to call it that, especially in terms of couture. So when an investor, when a company as strategic and long thinking as RBL steps out to open conversations on collaborations, what were you looking for exactly, and what is it about Manish Malhotra that met that strategic need and plan?
The first is because fashion is having a strong soul to a brand. In Manish Malhotra, we find that truly there is a very, very young beating heart to that brand, okay, with a long life ahead. So as an investee, I feel protected. So that's one big thing. Secondly, fashion is about having more people who desire but are not able to have what they desire. So leaving what I call hunger on the table. So I'm sure the number of women who aspire to have a Manish Malhotra and wardrobe far outnumber the actual number of men and women who have. And the third big thing is that in the world that we live in, we look for brands that are capable of being reimagined across geographies, across target audiences, across wardrobe categories. Okay, because very often we find brands which are very narrowly niched to a particular geography or a particular segment. I think brand Manish Malhotra, okay, would have its cachet across all of this diaspora.
And Manish, if I may ask you, one of the things that as a fashion journalist I've admired for long is the nurturance, which may be formulaic from a filmy point of view, but you have had your own signature, your own creative impulses and instinct and warmth which you have grown the brand. That has stayed out of formula, and I think one of the reasons why brand Manish Malhotra is so big is because you haven't allowed it to go out of that nurturance. With this collaboration with RBL, do you think that nurturance you might have to step back a little, and how are you going to maintain that warmth and glow while bringing on a collaborator as big and also powerful in the market as this?
I remember Darshan saying that we want to keep the essence of the brand, and that was also my fear, that would I leave the essence, would I lose the essence? And it was so reassuring, and it was also so important for both of us to understand that no, because otherwise whenever you see a fashion house and a corporate company coming together, it's always speaking about, we'll diversify into breadth collections, we'll make high street collections and water it down to a mass level, all of that. But I think for us, both of us, and we agreed on that, and that was the chemistry, was that no, we both enjoy the essence of the flavor of the brand, and that's going to be there.
The very texture of the business of fashion is changing in India. Big companies acquiring and stakes in fashion labels that have long otherwise established themselves. Now this is going to open a very interesting competition as well. But what I want to know is that when we say acquisition and we say that a certain company is powering, enabling, structuring a brand, Darshan, in specific, what does it really mean? What does a company like yours, leadership like yours, exactly what it will bring to Manish Malhotra? If you can tell our listeners, what happens when two big powers sign up?
In all of our brand partnerships, it is not a means to an end to say where does this fit in our retail portfolio. That's a very different approach, and we have always stayed away from that approach. It is very, very important that corporates don't go out and overwhelm, okay? Because these brands have been nurtured, you use a beautiful word, with love, care, affection, mistakes. And hence, one of the first things I want to ensure is that he doesn't get into a safe zone. Because moment any design approach gets into a zone of safety, fearing outcome, will this succeed or not, etc., itself is the demise of the brand. Okay, it's also about subtly bringing complementary skills. Clearly supply chain, clearly global access, clearly real estate, clearly talent pool, technology. Very often people talk about access to customers. What about access to great factories? There are a handful of factories who know how to treat leather well. He spoke about footwear.
Yeah.
How many factories that can deal with wool as a material or silk? These are complicated, yarns or garments, all of that, etc. So the idea is to stay two steps behind, okay, and be that ally, okay, for our own selfish interest to nurture, okay, this value.
Businesses are built out of successes of a certain kind, which means the Manish Malhotra brand has managed to communicate to a global local customer. Now, with this partnership, how will the merchandise be tweaked or a segment created for the international buyer of Indian couture? Besides, what we used to call the NRI coming to India to buy more of bridal couture, there is a customer who is not an NRI but still wants to take a slice back home of Indian couture. What would you create for him or her in terms of silhouette, fabric, garment? If you can tell me a bit about that.
What we are looking at taking India globally, which could be fabric, color, craft, the embroidery art that we have, and getting into verticals, getting into atmospheres, markets where the designer could be Indian origin, but the work probably is global, right? Yes. So that is another form of taking your Indianness and your Indian work or India on the global map. So that is very essential today, because I think we have only seen Indian designers being Indian designers everywhere. That is one aspect. That is something I'll never go from. That is me, and that will always be there, and that's beautiful. But I'm just saying that as an expansion, we also want to take India globally.
Indeed, fashion business houses, many kinds of entrepreneurs will be looking at this very powered collaboration for lessons to take back from, as will Manish, your own clients, RBL's customers, our readers and followers. Thank you for this very engaging chat. Congratulations again, and we will be watching with great curiosity. Thank you, Manish Malhotra and Darshan Mehta, for this.